All right, so if you didn't meet me in the main room, my name is Emily. I'm the co-founder of Travel Cat, and my most recent car experience is I did a 40-hour road trip with my two cats. We went from New York to Florida, and we stopped at three hotels and three Airbnbs up and down. We stayed in, I think it was like 7 different states, and it was a really incredible experience, and it was actually much less stressful than maybe it sounds. And that's my big takeaway, is that because we did a lot of prep with supplies, with calling ahead to make sure that the Airbnbs and hotels that we stayed in were definitely cat friendly. You know, it really made, of course, there were some stressful moments, but overall, we were able to make it happen. And our cats both acclimated really well to each stop as we went along the way. So one of my biggest tips that I would give for hotel travel before I pass it off to Rachel is if you do have to stay in a hotel with your cats, one, make sure that it is cat friendly, not just pet friendly, because pet does not automatically mean cat. And we actually did book one hotel that we had to quickly switch because we assumed that because we had stayed in another brand of that same hotel that was cat friendly, that this one would be too. And it turned out they weren't. So you got to be really careful with that. And for the Airbnbs we stayed in, same thing. We messaged people in advance saying, hey, I see that you're pet friendly. Are you cool with cats? And not everybody said yes, but eventually we found ones, that were. So definitely call ahead. And when you're at hotels, one of the first things that we did when we arrived before we let the cats out is we checked to make sure that there weren't spaces the cats could get into that we wouldn't be able to get them out of when we had to leave. So at the hotels, we were only staying there like one night. It was kind of like our stopovers. And one of our cats is a little bit more nervous than the other, and she would look for small places to go and hide, like behind a couch or whatnot, which is fine as long as you can move the couch to get them out when you need to leave. So there's some of my starter tips, but I'll pass it off to Rachel if you want to share your background of car travel.
Yes, I'm Rachel. I live in a van full time, so car travel is life. I have two cats. This is Fred. He's 16 pounds for everyone asking in the chat. He's kind of drooping out of the backpack right now, but he does fit in all the way just fine. And then I have Puddles. He's only 9 pounds, a lot smaller. But they, have grown up just regular indoor house cats their whole lives. And we started doing van life 4 months ago. So they've been on the road for that long. Just some background, Fred hated everything having to do with travel, including the car, including new places. And now he's like as happy as can be just because of all the training we put in. Puddles is obsessed with his backpack, and he likes to go on walks a little bit more than Fred. So we have two very different cats, but that is to say both of them love their life here in the van. Just getting them ready was necessary. And I also want to say we just stayed at an Airbnb in Santa Fe a couple nights ago. And so many are not cat friendly, so that's great tips, Emily. But yeah, I would just say exposure and just patience is the main thing. Emily, I don't know if this is the time, but I can kind of go over like my preparation plan on how I got them here.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. So like I said, they were just regular indoor house cats. Me and my husband knew we wanted to do van life. About a year and a half ago, we started preparing. And the first thing we did was order the Navigator backpacks. And we just sat them in the house in like different corners. We would move them around the house because cats love to sit in new places. And that's the first thing we did. And then we would eventually take them outside and just walk around the block of our apartment. Puddles seemed good with that. Fred would meow for the first few walks, but every single time we did it, it got better and better. And that's pretty much the story of everything we did. We also got the travel cat harnesses and leashes, but we didn't take them outside like first thing. We put the harnesses on them and we would just let them sit in the house for like 20 minutes and like walk around. And then we would take them off and we would give them food immediately. And that's what we did. We went from the house and then we put them on our front porch with the harnesses, so outside but protected. And then eventually we brought them outside. I just want to say that Fred is 9 years old and Puddles is 6 years old. So it's not like they were trained, you know, out of the womb. They were set in their ways. So I just want to give hope to people out there because we were so worried about them, and they're completely fine. So yeah, that was the leash training, the backpack, and then the van. So the car, Fred's not a fan of the car, but basically what we did, we had our van fully built out 3 months before we left on the road. So we would take Puddles and Fred down to the van for like 10 minutes and just have them just walk around and get used to it. I will say Fred hated it the first time. His mouth was hanging open. He was nervous. We rushed him back up to the apartment. But just like everything else, it got better every single time. Eventually, when they were comfortable in the not moving van, we took it for, a 5-minute drive, a 10-minute drive, and it would go up from there. So by the time we hit the road in December, they were completely fine. I would say the first 2 hours, there was some meowing, and they've just been great since. Now their average day looks like sitting in the van, sleeping a lot, finding the sunspots. They love the front seat because that's the best sun spot. And they like to go outside for about 10 to 15 minutes on their leashes. The cats walk you don't walk cats. And normally we don't go very far. It's just like a waltz around the van, and then they're ready to hop back in. We take the harnesses off. They have their food every single time they get back in. And they love backpack time, particularly Puddles loves the backpack. If we're outside the van and they're inside, Puddles is like, "What are you doing? Take me in the backpack." So they have backpack time as well. I would say they can handle it up to an hour. We just did some maintenance at Costco and they were in their backpacks for about 40 minutes. So that's kind of my whole spiel. They're as happy as can be in here, and I didn't think it was possible. So it's exciting.
That's amazing. Well, Kim, I know I put you on the spot to speaking about this, but I know you go places with your cats to get them to go outdoors, so I'm sure you have had the experience of having them in the car. So tell us a little bit about that. Oh, you're muted. Oh, and now we have Sarah here as well. So woohoo.
Hey.
Hey, Sarah. So, well, Kim, do you want to share a little bit about your car experience? Okay, go ahead. Oh, you are muted still, though. So.
It's like the famous, can you hear me now?
I know, it's okay. Go ahead.
So I've had a fair amount of experience with Ruger in the car, mostly because within the last 2 years, we've moved from Michigan's Upper Peninsula to Madison, Wisconsin, and then back from Madison, Wisconsin to the Upper Peninsula. And in between, we were doing long distance with our cat dad. So we had to make sure that we were visiting him. So he's been in and out of the car a lot. Then we switched and we moved from the Upper Peninsula to Lower Michigan, and that was another like whole to do. So had a fair amount of experience with Ruger in the car. Our other kitty, Daisy, she's 9. She's my homebody. She doesn't like to travel so much. So I kind of shadow that preparation for some of these cats really is the key. Ruger likes to go for car rides. He likes to look out the window. So I have a setup for him where I actually use a dog booster seat so he can like sit up higher and see out the window, but can still be secure because I use his harness and I clip it into that seat so he can't really wander around too much. There are some occasions when I'm on back roads or less traffic where I'll let him just kind of wander if he wants. But when we're in heavy traffic, I prefer that. For Daisy, she needs to stay in like the comfort of a carrier or a crate. So because we do long distance in many cases, we just do crate training. I get it set out just like you would for a backpack or anything else, and let them get acclimated to that space before you start moving it around. So for us, yeah, we'd set up the crate. She would eat her food in there, have snacks, she would nap in there, and then we would get it into the car and start by like one block and then build up a little bit more in our city before we took a big trip. For her, medication also helps, and I don't know if this is always on everybody's radar, but if you have a kitty that you have to travel with that doesn't like adventuring, definitely talk with your vet about medication options, because for her, it makes a world of a difference. Rue, he just goes everywhere. He's like, all right, what are we doing now? Oh, okay, here we go. Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Emily, is that point for me? Since I joined so late, hi everyone. I missed the question. Where are we at? Hello, can you hear me?
We're just kind of
Emily,
introducing ourselves to everybody in our experience with traveling with the cats.
Awesome. Okay, thank you so much for that. So my name is Sarah. My kitties are Birch and Luna. Birch like the tree. So we've been adventuring together for almost 4 years, not quite. They'll be 4 in May, which is exciting. And our process for getting them used to the car was really gradual. We took things really slow. I'm sure that this has been mentioned already, but we sometimes would even just spend time in the car, not even moving, just to associate the car with being a safe place. So we'd bring toys in and treats, and we would just like hang out, all 4 of us in the car. Now, like, I guess one thing that I'll share is that our cats don't always love car rides. Sometimes they feel pretty upset by it, but I want to like normalize that part, and then also share that after this many years of doing the car rides, they will now like voluntarily get in the car just because they want to nap in there because they like it. So it's worth it to like take those slow steps. Things do change over time, and every cat's preference is a little bit different. So just kind of paying attention to what they need and some of their stress cues so that you can kind of like make it as safe of an experience as you can. So like practically speaking, we use a little pet barrier that keeps them in the back of the car. And then we use these donuts. They are very well loved, as you can see. There's tons of cat fur in them. There's even like litter in the top, which is gross, I know, but we use them like multiple times a week, all the time. So they love hiding in here. It makes them feel safe. They love riding on top and looking out the window. So these have been a lifesaver for us. They also sometimes will crawl in their backpack for like a safe spot in the car. So those are some of our like go-tos with car travel. Yeah.
And I did want to second the medication comment because and medication sound, I know some people, if it sounds like, oh, I'm medicating my cats, but I mean, so our doctor or our vets prescribed us Dramamine basically, and it's not like a cat version of Dramamine, it's like literally just Dramamine, which if you are a nauseous person, it's like the same thing that adults take to get rid of nausea on like planes and kayaking and whatnot. So for our car ride, when we were doing the longer chunks of hours, we gave them the prescribed amount of Dramamine, and we also spread out the stops so that they were never in the car too much. We actually even, I would say, being flexible if you're trying to do a long road trip is important. Like we actually added in an additional stop the way down to Florida because we were like, you know what, we don't want to get back in the car again. We wanted to give them a little bit more of a break. So I'm curious if any of you have like any very sort of practical tips of like setup of the car and stuff like that. So Sarah always remember. So Sarah, we actually had her on an in-person panel one time before COVID. And
Yeah.
I know you had a fun little, not a fun story about something that happened in the cat or in the car. And then after that, Rachel, somebody had a question about how you manage exiting and entering your van, like if they try to escape. And that's probably relevant to everybody too, right? So Sarah, if you want to go next.
Sure. Yeah. So a lot of our experience has been trial and error. And the fun little nugget that Emily is referring to is that we were driving down the coast with our cats, and had forgotten to hit the window lock feature. And so our sweet Luna, in the back, started rolling down her window and kept her paw on the power window button. So even if you're the driver, you can't roll it up while it's being pressed down. And we were just freaked out, like we're gonna lose our cat to like the 101. We're terrible cat parents. So that I think has like forever sealed in our minds, like just before you get going, what are the things that help keep everybody safe? Like the window lock feature. For us, the pet barrier helps keep them safe, because if you have really curious kitties and they want to get up into the front and get under your feet, that might not be great. So the other thing for us that's helps keep them calm is keeping the windows cracked just a little bit. Again, still keeping them locked, but cracked just enough to get some airflow. And I think that helps with a little bit of motion sickness too. Yeah.
And I would say
he did not jump out.
For us, getting in and out of the car, like whenever we knew we were about to either get to a destination or get to a rest stop, we made sure they were both zipped up in a carrier, because we didn't want them to be out when we were getting out. So that was just the way we handled that. Rachel, do you want to talk about that, just with the van getting in and out? Because you have to get in and out more from your van since you live there.
Yeah, that was something I was really worried about when we were thinking about this, is, oh my gosh, they're just going to dart out every single time and that'll be it. But that has not been our experience. We have candidly left a window wide open for like an hour and nothing happened. But our cats just don't try to get out that much. But things that we do have, I'm gonna show my husband here, he's not prepared, but we do we do have a whole screen that covers our back windows, so our back doors, and it goes down to the ground, so we can have our back doors wide open and the cats are screened in, so they're not going to get out that way. I would say I just have to close the sliding door, every time we get in and out of the van, we do close that. And they're usually comfy cozy in here, chilling on the bed. They're really not trying to dart out. But when we do have to get out for long periods of time, or like have our doors open for some reason, we will put them in their backpacks and zip them up, or harness them. So it's really not that long period of time that we have to keep the door open. But like I said, the screen is great. I also wanted to address another question about, do you feel like they're not active enough? I feel like they have more going on than ever, if that makes sense. Their days are really packed, compared to their old life when they would, just be in the apartment all day. And that being said, me and George are always with them. We never leave them long at all. So they have lots of stimulation. We have tons of toys in here. They love their leash and they love their backpack. So, and yeah, they're really happy in here. So I'm not concerned about them being active.
Someone asked about if your cat like poops and vomits, from being in the car. I mean, I think part of it might be in getting used to things thing, but also again, like consulting with your vet as well. Somebody mentioned gabapentin. That's another medication that is common for basically calming down cats. And someone also mentioned Feel Away. You know, we sell on our site a Jackson Galaxy solution called Easy Traveler. There's Stress Stopper. We have the crazy cat ladies who are going to be in the cat health session next, and they have a calming solution. So, you know, there's a lot of those sort of different calming solutions that you can spray, you can give them in their mouth. Somebody also asked how to manage if you're by yourself getting your cat in and out of the car. And for that question, I would say like have a plan and always just have a strategy and see how you can set up your car physically in a way that makes it easy for you. And does anyone else have thoughts on getting them in, like how you easily get them in? Or in or out, like in the carrier when you're trying to get them out? I feel like that was the question. Oh, Sarah, I have to unmute. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I wasn't able to unmute. So for us, if we're doing a shorter car trip, we put them in their packs before going out to the car, and then we leave them in their packs. If it's a longer trip, then we might not do that. But that's, I think, the easiest way to navigate, you know, just getting in and out of the car. So that feels like almost like best practice, right? For like the car travel. But if your cats start to get used to it, we often will just literally carry them in our arms to the car, and they've already got their harness on, especially if we're going to do an outdoor adventure. So certain steps we've already taken. And then for us, our cats have kind of been trained to not try to leave the car from certain exit points. So when we open the trunk to get their backpacks out, they don't try to leave. They know now. It's taken us a while to get there, but we get their packs out, we get the pack like on and situated. We have a carabiner hooked up to their leash, and then we open the passenger door and like really quick, like snap it onto their harness. So it's just kind of like you find a process that works. And if you have like escape artists, like our boy, especially, you just kind of figure out how to be fast with it. Yeah.
Let's see. Do you want to talk about the litter box in the van?
Yeah, so we got our van custom built. So we really thought about these two because they're our lives. I am going to show you the litter box hole. So see that hole down there? That's their own sacred space that Puds and Fred crawl into, and they have their own big area for their litter box, and we clean it every single day by opening our back doors, and there's a little door to open that. So they have their little kitty cabinet, and like I said, we clean it every day, and it's fun that they have a little place of their own that we can't get to and bother them. So, and it's super cute to see them go in the hole.
Nice. Well, we are getting to the next session, so I want to pick a couple of winners really quick before I let people in. So our first winner who has won the bag of supplements from In Clover is Cecilianne Hartman. So Cecilianne Hartman, if you want to unmute yourself and say hooray, you can do that. If you're a prize winner, email meow@yourcatbackpack.com. And then our other winner who has won their choice of any harness and leash set from Travel Cat is Leslie Pelotis. So Leslie Pelotis, you're our other winner. So Leslie and Cecilianne, email meow@yourcatbackpack.com to claim your prize. Congrats. All right, so just so you know, for the next sessions, I'm pulling up the program. If you want to be in clicker training, you are staying here. So clicker training, you're staying here. Social media, how to build your social media following is room 1. And Q&A and Travel Cat product demo is back in the main room. All right, so I'm going to start letting folks in and we'll swap around. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.